Hey there, YouTube friends. maskedbandit here. Thanks so much for hanging out with me again today. I always do appreciate it, and welcome back to another Planet Coaster video. Empty map. Woo! Today, what I thought I'd do is I've been having this idea for quite a long time, years really, and I've never done it. So I thought, what better time than now? My creative juices are back. I have a renewed vigor to play Planet Coaster, and it was a small project that I could probably get done. I wanted to recreate one of my favorite buildings. This is so specific. One of my favorite buildings from my home park, Six Flags Great America. I've been going to Six Flags Great America since 1992, I think was the first time I went. It was the year Batman opened, which coaster nerds just double check me. I think it was 92. I've been going usually once a year up until I moved away. So, I mean, I know that park really, really well. And one of my favorite buildings, it's so dumb. One of my favorite buildings is actually this building right here. The funnel cake store on the corner of this little Main Street area. So this is in the center of the park. If I zoom out a little bit here, you can see it's a little town square area right behind the Columbia Carousel. This town square area is one of my favorite areas of the park. Speaking of Batman, it's right there. But this little corner store, man, it was a tradition for years and years and years that whenever I went to Six Flags Great America, I would get a funnel cake sundae at this shop. The Whizzer, which is a spiral lift coaster, that's the station for it right there. It's one of the last operating spiral lift coasters in the country, if not the world. That was my very first real roller coaster, was the Whizzer. Also in second grade. That was the first time. Anyway, that doesn't matter. We're going today to recreate this building in Planet Coaster, taking full advantage of especially the beam set from Thememaker's toolkit, in addition to some other Thememaker's toolkit items. At this point in the game's life, for me, and also Redline was talking to me about this a little bit, maybe on his video for the work I did for his Laurel Gardens, but he talked about how if Thememaker's toolkit has something that he needs, it's far easier and it just saves a lot of effort to just use it rather than spend hundreds of potential pieces to make something that's a close approximation that might not even be as good. So anyway, we're going to build just this structure, and if y'all like this and think this is worthwhile and something worth continuing, there's nothing to say that I can't add these buildings as well. This would be kind of fun. It might be kind of fun to have this little, and then you could just plop it down in your parks as a little Main Street area. But as is, this will be downloaded by the end of the episode. This will be available for you to download, and well, it's available now, but I highly recommend you stick around to watch how I did it. But yeah, we'll have this done, and you can download it and put it in your parks. I think it's a nice little corner area for your Main Street. So without any further ado, let's jump back into Planet Coaster and let's get going. It doesn't look like a lot, but the first thing when it comes to recreating a structure is getting the scale right, both in regards to the peeps and in regards to the building itself. And this was interesting. I don't even think this is the final scale, but you can see my archer here. Someone in my last video asked, what's this archer for? He is the only animatronic in game that is the height of a peep. So if you sync him, and he's actually just a little bit high there, I could sync him a little bit more. You will see how big the peeps will be. The problem with Planet Coaster is it's scaled, I think, 150% the size of the guests, which is why they look so small when you build in Planet Coaster style. So part of the challenge, if you want realistic buildings, is getting realistic scale, which means using small pieces and trying to use pieces in different ways. But anyway, started here with this, wanted to see what I could do. This here is all TMTK beams, and there's a little rough because it's really hard to see. The beams are so small. If I go in here and I click on a beam, if I go in here and click on them, come on, you could see it's hard to line up because the arrows are in the way and the node here is in the way, so that's a struggle. But I am very happy with it. This is the only way I'm going to be able to achieve the kind of detail at the scale I need, is to use these beams. The in-game decorative pieces are going to pretty much be useless for this build because they're all so big. So this first step here was just kind of nailing the scale here. And what I ended up having to do is later on I realized that the building isn't a square, it's actually a rectangle. This is the longer side of the building, so I do eventually extend it. And then nailing colors was surprisingly difficult. It's kind of a bluish aquamarine color, falling closer to the blue side of things. I got close, but then when you use more different materials, sometimes they accept the color differently. And I played and played and played to try to get it to match. At the end of the day, we just did you know what, this is gonna do. And I think it works. I think it's pretty close to the original. If we check back with our original, colors are there-ish. It's kind of hard to tell right now. It's just a box. But everything starts like this, and a lot of times when I start, I'm like, oh, this looks bad. But you just got to press on, and hopefully you will see the progress as you press on and add more and decorate it more and just do more. So keep with it if you're struggling. If you think your stuff isn't where you want it to be yet, fight through it and see if by the end, if it's not what you want. Or at the very least, you'll at least have something you've completed. And that's important too. Now it's starting to look a bit more like a building, still very rectangular, but to be fair, it is just a very rectangular building. You'll notice I haven't tackled the tops yet, the little details on top. I wasn't quite sure what to do with those yet. Part of the reason I wasn't sure what to do with those yet is because I still haven't scaled this wall properly, and so it was throwing it off. This wall needs to be longer, which means that the details on top, if we look at the reference, this right here, wasn't fitting right with the building at its current dimension. So once I figure out to extend this wall, everything kind of fits into place. But nonetheless, let's talk about what's going on here. Here is our little bay window, and again, we're getting close. I mean, I don't want to make custom windows if I don't have to. These windows are close to what we actually have, but I'm actually pretty pleased with how this little bay window ended up. And all this is just art shapes. We got some art shapes here. Art shapes and thememaker's toolkit beams. That's it. And to make this box a little more concrete, we have some more beams in the corners just to shore up the corners. And I think it really sells it quite well. The funnel cake sign, also happy with how that turned out. Again, not quite. I just don't have small enough pieces to do the exact detail that's on the building. If I go here, I don't have the right size signs and stuff. I would love it. There is that Western sign that kind of looks like this, but it's too darn big. So I sort of approximated it. And I use one of Fog's fonts. Fog is has a whole bunch of amazing fonts on the workshop. You should, if you want some custom fonts, go get some from Fog. I have one on there as well. I have an Art Deco font that you might find useful in your projects. But nonetheless, this is a Fog font. Funnel cakes. Love it, love it, love it. And at this point, I was like, okay, yeah, we could do this. This is a simple enough structure where there's enough detail, and I have the pieces to get close that I will be satisfied. And so then it was time to push on and start figuring out more details. So you can see we're really starting to work on making it look not like a box. We have our roof details here, and again, it is all beams. And if it's not beams, then it's windows as walls. But I'm pretty sure that these are beams here. These are actually, I was pretty proud of myself. I was able to use in-game walls here. This is just an in-game stucco roof piece, or stucco wall piece. This is just an in-game stucco wall piece. Did pull some of these little brackets from the wall decoration menu. In-game, in-game pieces. So that's good. Really happy with how this is turning out. Did a bit more detail down here, just trying to get approximations of all the details that we see on the real thing. And then over here is actually time for the service window area. So there's this little cutout here, this little overhang area here where you go and you order your food. And the building, if you look on the reference, if you come back over here, it's very kind of difficult. It's not difficult, it's just at a kind of a weird angle, but there's lots of stuff going on here that's going to be interesting. Not only this detail on top, but like we are going to make ours closed just because I don't quite know what it looks like inside. But these little menus, the color variations, it's kind of interesting, kind of unique, and so it's starting to kind of figure out how I want to do that. But Again, using windows as walls here, more TMTK beams, and it looks a little raw, a little rough right now because, well, we're not close to being done. But the thing is, this building and most of the theme park buildings that I'm familiar with, especially in a Six Flags park, are simple. I mean, they have details in a couple places to kind of sell the vibe, but overall they're basically just boxes with some color slapped on them. So yeah, we still don't have any backs yet. It's still just a total facade, but don't worry, we'll fix that before we get out of here. So onward. There's not many more updates. I kind of hit a groove at this point, and it's going to be looking a lot different in the next one. So I thoroughly underestimated just how big of a jump the next one was. It's done. The structure itself is about done. We are about 95% of the way done. But I don't need to tell you too much more than everything I've already told you. All the white details and most of this building, anything that looks interesting is probably ThemeMaker's planks. I believe it's Hydro are the planks I'm using, which have totally revolutionized the game. But in this particular instance, I needed some more specific ThemeMaker's Toolkit items. I needed these awnings. I could make awnings with art shapes, but they're chunky. They don't look very great. So I just use these, and they are fantastic. A simple search from the workshop will give you these. I don't know off the top of my head who they're by. I do apologize. But you can find these items just by simple searches on the workshop. These letters, super pleased with these. These are also workshop items. But man, do they make a difference. This is like, that's the one big pop of color and like the one detail I was most concerned about, but I'm really happy with it. I think it turned out well. Sorry for all the menus and such what. Use Fog's tiny font here for the other funnel cake sign. This is a little, it's a little weak, but it's okay. If you look here, this is a little bit different than the picture. This proportion's a little off, but not enough for me to be upset. I'm still happy with it. It is closed at the moment. I used in-game railroad rails to layer here to make it look like the corrugated cover, I guess is the word for it. Used windows here. I thought it was interesting. These are actually windows that are stacked on top of each other, and there's menus here. And so I did a search on the workshop for menus. Did a search on the workshop for lots of small details. It was hard to find signs and stuff to fit here. Pretty small area. But I think with the sign, the eat sign, and the awnings, it really helps a lot. So all we have left to do, the roof is on here. Gotta roof it up. Got to do a little bit of landscaping here. In real life, what happens is this building actually extends a bit, and then there's a gate here that leads into the backstage area for this whole facade area. We're not going to add any of that. We're just going to do this building, and you can do that. You can do it however, you can use it however you want. I am making this for one, because I wanted to make it, but also two, I thought it'd be fun to share it, and hopefully a bunch of you can use this in your projects. So let's go ahead and finish it up with some final little details. And here's the finished product, and I'm really pleased with it. I think it sells the inspiration quite well. Just for reference, here's what it, looks like IRL. Let's go this way. Whoop, too much. Here's what it looks like IRL, and here's our version. And actually, it's more like from this angle. But yeah, I'm happy with it. The way I built it, this side is always shaded, which blows, but that's fine. The Coke bottles, the Coke recycling bins, I think is totally what sells it as this now looks so Six Flags to me. This janky pavement here, I love that little detail, and I wanted to kind of get an approximation of it. Like, yeah, there's been some patchworks done over here, and it's not all that great. There's also like this cobblestone street looking thing that just abruptly ends here that I thought was too cool, and I mean, it would make a lot more sense if I continued the facade. And then these little benches made with art shapes, they're very thick. I probably could have searched a little harder and found some shapes, but since this was near the end of the video, or near the end of the project, I was like, nah, good enough. But yeah, this is all just, this is there. Some really simple landscaping here, and then this would be a fence to the backstage area there. I did find some more thememaker stuff. This lovely little menu, which is, I guess, it's got all kinds of things on it. Ice cream and popcorn and nachos. And we threw another one over here, through this Wi-Fi zone. Like, these are the things to me that really throw it out of any sort of realistic building and into a theme park building. Like, they just use the sign for labels. So, yeah, there's not much more to talk about. Oh, I love the speaker that's just sitting there, like, in plain sight, but you don't really look at it. You're looking at the other parts of the building. Those are the kind of things, I think, that really help sell realistic theme park buildings. But that's it. That's my little building. And I hope you've enjoyed this shorter video, but nonetheless, this build and this look into my process. And this, in the description below, there is a workshop link to this building that you can all download and use in your park. You're free to modify it, do whatever you want. I only ask that you give credit if you use it. And do not re-upload as your own. Those are my two biggies. I understand things on the workshop, that's there for you to use. Just don't claim that you're the one that made it. That's it. So I do have to say that, though. So yeah, there you go. The roof is on. If there's people are interested and they want to see the rest of this facade here, there's like a fake fudge shop here and then a sweet store. If you want to see that, then what I'll do is I'll add on to this and we'll put in the rest of the details here. Like there's a door that leads to the roof of the buildings that are next door to this and a little ladder that leads up to this roof. I didn't include those in this because it would have been out of context and wouldn't have made any sense. But if you guys want to see more of this kind of thing, then we'll do that. So I guess I leave it up to you then. What do you want to see? Do you want to see more of this? Would you like to see some more smaller shops like this? From real life recreations, we'll say. And what would you like to see recreated? This style here is kind of my jam. This realistic style here, this is kind of what I enjoy doing, this Main Street kind of Six Flags budget. That's what I'm best at, so if you're going to go and suggest like Disney stuff or Universal stuff, I mean, I could try it, but I might not be as successful at it. And I'm just realizing I have to tweak the roofs up here. They're looking kind of, you can see the brown poking through. But so yeah, that's going to do it for me for this episode. I hope you enjoyed, and if you did, hit the like button. Consider subscribing if you haven't already, and as always, have yourself a great day, great night, great whatever, and I will see all of you for the next episode of Planet Coaster. Well, that being said, take care everyone. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.